I have a blade on my hip right here that has the potential to give Mora's more premium Garberg design a run for its money. The blade that we're going to be unpacking today is the Trail Forge by OneTigris. And I paid around $20 for this model. It's sporting AUS-8 Steel and is definitely taking some cues from the Garberg, but changes some aspects as well. So we're really going to thump on this thing today to see if it's just a cheap knockoff or a heavy-hitting contender when you're on a budget. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. This is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in and have some fun. Now, the very first test I wanted to do on this Trail Forge is the magnet test, where we take a magnet, see where the tang ends, because they claim a full tang and they have a skeletonized image that shows it stopping right around the lanyard hole. So right away, would that be full tang? I'm not sure. But let's just see where this stops, making sure that's accurate, and you can see that it's lifting the knife. And if I rotate it, that magnet's staying on there. Now, obviously the Garberg is going to have full tang all the way through coming out the back there. So this is stronger than the Trail Forge. This would, I would argue, is a true full tang. But I just wanted to show the RISBERG. This is the new one, kind of replacing the 511 series from Mora. Paid around like 18 bucks for it. You can see there, that's where the tang is ending, is like right around there. So right around where that line is on the handle. So pretty close to the Trail Forge. And then here's the AMBERG. I'm trying to remember all these Berg names. Garberg, RISBERG, AMBERG. We can see right here, same kind of thing. The magnet ends and the magnet is sticking, and the tang would end probably right around where this line is. Pretty close, you know, when we line this up to, if I can get it in frame here and I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to talk and show you all at the same time. Lining up right there. So if this is my knife, I wouldn't be calling it a full tang design per se. It's more in line with Mora's budget-friendly options. I know this next statement is gonna ruffle some feathers. I think on sub 5-inch knives that are, you know, around 1/8 of an inch thick, if you have a full tang like out the back model, it's purely performative. It's not really necessary. We're not going to be putting knives of this size through enough abuse that we would somehow see it failure and like the tang snap inside a properly seated handle. So, I mean, this little RISBERG here, wherever the tang ends, like 2/3, let's say, of the way down or whatever, I'm not gonna be pounding on this hard enough, or the Garberg hard enough to see it somehow snap and break inside the handle here, as long as it's seated and molded properly. Now, we are gonna be thumping on this to make sure this knife doesn't, you know, loosen up and rattle and have issues or have some sort of cracking, but as long as the molding is done properly and seating the knife tang well, it doesn't matter to me. But that's my opinion, so leave a comment, let me know if you agree or disagree. Now let's start thumping on this blade, and there's some very curious results based off of my experience. Now, one of the things that really caught my eye was the AUS-8 Steel, and that's what partially made me want to buy this blade, and the claimed 58 to 60 HRC, which is kind of on the higher end for AUS-8. Now, I've been around long enough to have used AUS-8 on a lot of blades over the years. It's a great kind of just budget-friendly, semi-stainless steel. You know, you're gonna get some rust resistance, you get ease of resharpening, and decent durability as well. I like Sandvik 14C28N that you get on the Garberg more, but AUS-8 is like runner-up to that steel. Very, very close. And with this HRC, at least on the edge retention side of things, I was really pleased. Very pleased with how well it was holding its edge. They opted for that hardness rating, and I can see that it's not a soft AUS-8. Like, it's definitely holding its edge longer than some cheap offerings I've seen in the past. It does come with a 90-degree spine that's nice and sharp. You're definitely gonna be able to throw sparks easily. It's a little flamethrower to get your campfires going and practice your firecraft. Now, you combine that with a 0.13 stock thickness, so it's just a hair over 1/8 of an inch thick. Means that it's got some meat behind the edge, so you can pound with this thing. I was easily able to do harder tasks, side splitting, doing different things like that, and it held up well. And I was pleased because of that harder hardness that I didn't see any chipping or damage on the impact side of things. You know, a harder steel, yes, it will hold its edge, and for like slicing, it'll be probably fine, but if you do impact, you might see chipping and chunking, but I didn't see any of that at all with the harder use, and these are the type of tasks that I would put a Garberg, put a Mora, put your compact 4-inch bushcraft knives through, because that's what this is going to be sporting. Here's where things got a little wonky. This knife is not winning any awards on finer cutting tasks. The edge geometry is not mind-blowing. I really had to work on it to get some feather sticks going. It is not anywhere near as easy to grab the wood with the edge and then make that carve or feather stick. You really got to focus, get control, and if you miss by just a 1 or 2 degree, you're sliding off or you're biting way too in and deep, and it's not working like a Mora. You pick up a Mora, regardless if it's a $15 item or the $100 Garbergs. I remember when Garbergs were like 15, 60 bucks. That's when I bought mine. But you don't even have to think about it. It just connects with the wood and bam, it starts carving and boom, it starts biting into the wood for a notch. And even when I started busting it out compared to cordage, I really had to saw on the vanilla rope, and you don't have to do that with a Mora. I mean, even the $15, you know, RISBERG is just like falling through the hemp rope, and I've got to saw pretty significantly with this trail forge. And the more and more I used it, the more and more I came to the conclusion that what it came with is not awesome, because it has a very distinct initial edge and then into the Scandi grind. So I would actually call this an extremely low saber grind. I would not call this a Scandi grind. I mean, I'm running my finger on here and I'm not concerned about cutting myself after the use, and it came to me this way. So you guys know what that means. We got to bust out the Work Sharp Guided Field Sharpener Elite. The new Elite versions have the standard diamond plates, but they have 2 new adaptations that are included in the little carrying case, 400 and 800 grit, so we can really hone this edge. Now I just want to see if I can even work with it, because we're gonna have to reprofile. The point is, we're gonna have to totally reprofile this blade here and we'll bring up that grind. That's what we're gonna have to do. And I'm gonna fast forward this sucker. So now that I've worked on the coarse side, I'm gonna swap on over, and I've actually swapped to the ultrafine that comes with the Elite kit, just because I wanna kind of speed this along more just for the testing. And AUS-8 isn't like super premium. If I was using like M390, I would need to be doing like every step, but I can skip some of those depending on the steel, even with the harder HRC. I'm just trying to bring up this edge a little bit so we have a more fine apex, because that one was just too crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna go to coarse ceramic, and it's super cool to have Work Sharp as a regular sponsor here, hooking me up with this sample. You know, I've bought so many of these over the years. I'll have links to them, and we're gonna find out if this will really transform this blade and put some new life on it in the field, if you will. And we're gonna finish off with a strop here, just a couple passes. I actually like leaving my blades a little toothy usually, just a little hair of a tooth. I've seen it just kind of work a little bit better on like hemp rope and stuff. Okay, so this definitely feels sharper than how it came to me out of the box. Moment of truth here. This, I mean, I'll be able to tell right away. Oh, yeah, significantly better. Now we're push cutting through. Yes. Yep, boom. There it is, kids. So it's an edge geometry issue. Now this feels like my Mora. Nice. You can just see how much better that is right there. Work Sharp for the win. So you're gonna have to put in some elbow grease to reprofile the edge, but if you do, you will see some pretty good performance here. Now we're talking. Yes. Now the sheath is a synthetic polymer, same like on any Mora or a lot of other options that are kind of like Mora clones, whatever you want to call it. It definitely holds it into place, not coming out. Got some slap like a lot of other, you know, knives in this style with a polymer sheath. You got a clip right here that is a little flexy. I could see this possibly if I just keep going to snap. I feel like Moras are maybe slightly more dense. It does have a good sized drainage hole. It's slim. You got a couple little like secondary attachment points, which I think are supposed to like stagger, you know, like you could attach 2 and have this giant like setup or something. Here's the one thing. It's not ambidextrous. It's not ambidextrous. It's got a good thumb ramp and pretty easy to deploy, but the Garberg is ambidextrous. so you can just swap it right or left. It has good retention. And even the new RISBERGs. Now, the old 5-on-1s weren't like this, but now these are ambidextrous as well. And Mora is transitioning to more and more ambidextrous carry. So that would have been a nice feature to see. It leaves 10% of you out in the cold and you're gonna have to cross draw or whatever. Other than that, the sheath is totally fine, especially for this $20 or sub $20 model. Now, as I said earlier, I paid $20 for this, which is a pretty impressive price point, but I just looked on Amazon. They're going for even less at this moment. A couple color combinations were around $10 and a few, this model was like $13.99. I mean, even with some of the things that we're talking about today, that's a really hard price point to beat for 58 to 60 HRC'd AUS-8 with this type of design and functionality. So I'm gonna have a link popping up to my Amazon store. You can go check that out. You can use those affiliates, appreciate when you do. So you can explore this. So if you feel like this is making sense for you and you wanna pull the trigger, you can check them out. Now, swinging back to the handle itself, it's 4.77 inches, so nice and long. It's got really good, they have these like flame textures, it looks like. Kind of this flare out collar. I never had a hot spot. I was never going like, oh, I don't like this. I mean, it definitely fills out my large size hands. You can do any sort of bushcraft grip you want. I think that the kind of flare out gives you enough so that you feel confident. You know, you're not like, whoa, I'm holding onto a puko and I'm gonna slide up and hurt myself, something like that. It is nice that it has a lanyard hole so I can get that pinky wrist flick in there, and I've had zero shaking, you know, vibrations, concern about the Tang loosening up inside the handle. So I think they've done a great job on that front. So in conclusion, for a Garberg clone, adaptation, whatever term we want to use, as long as you're willing to and have the means to put in some elbow grease to reprofile that edge a little bit, I think it is definitely a viable option because you're getting things like a 90-degree spine. The AUS steel is holding a better edge than the 12C27 you're gonna get on the budget Moras, so you don't have to resharpen quite as often. And it just kind of has this vibe of the Garberg, but you can buy like 5 of them or even less or even more right now for that, and kind of get that close to experience. So it's definitely a viable option, I think, for some people who have the time and energy to work with the edge. Out of the box, I would just go with a Mora. I would go with a Mora if you're just looking for out of the box and you don't have the means or time or energy to reprofile and work with the edge a little bit. That's me and my mileage. I want to know from you guys, especially if you own one of these Trail Forge, how have they been performing for you? How's the edge for you out of the box? And do you use it more than your Moras, or do you just gravitate back to a Mora? Appreciate you guys' feedback and your time today. I invite you to check out the other video, to subscribe, and always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.